to welcome on behalf of the hospital, the Thompson family, the Foundation board members, pediatricians, and staff to our unveiling this afternoon. So I'm going to, this time, turn it over to Greg Gentry to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Cindy. Welcome. What a great day, what a great event, and what a great honor that we have as we stand here today. So many years passed when someone created the vision to have a children's hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Think back, those so many years ago, and for someone to have the vision, and to someone to have the foresight, and not only the foresight and the vision, but the ability to actually make it happen. And so we are here today to celebrate an individual who participated in creating the vision and created the ability for us to have a children's hospital in 2013. And not only in 2013, but for so many years to come in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And not only are we serving Chattanooga, but we're serving the entire region. And what an honor and what a privilege it is. And I'm so thankful that we can provide that care and that very special care, and to have such a special place as TC Thompson Children's Hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'd like to welcome the public dignitaries that are with us today. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, because we know you have a lot of demands upon you. So thank you for attending today and being part of this great event. Also, I'd like to say that Kevin Spiegel, our President and CEO as of April 1, he is so enthusiastic about children's hospitals, and he has a lot of energy around children's hospitals, but unfortunately, he was not able to attend. He's on a business trip to Texas, but he truly wanted to be here today, so his apologies are provided through me. And also, I'd like to say thank you to Ron Loving, who is the board chair of the hospital board of trustees, for being here today. Thank you, Ron, for being part of this great event. And obviously, all others who will be, and some other important guests, maybe the most important guests will be introduced shortly. So we do appreciate you attending. We appreciate the privilege of being able to serve our community from a pediatric and children's perspective. And I so hope that this vision that's been in place for so many years will continue, and so that generation after generation in Chattanooga, Tennessee will have a children's hospital, and we can serve the children as this community so warrants and so deserves. Thank you for being here today. Let me introduce Dr. Alan Court. Now, he's an important person.
Well, welcome. This is really exciting. It's my privilege to actually take a few moments and talk about TC Thompson and what he did for the hospital. But before that, we have to understand what he did as a man, and who he was, and what he accomplished. You know, the facts of TC Thompson are basically that he was born in 1860 in Columbia, South Carolina. And then he went to school, actually dropped out of school at 15. So only had basically a few years of high school education. And then went on to work in Atlanta. And then, as all good people, went from Atlanta and came to Chattanooga. And came to Chattanooga, and one of the most important things was how much he served the community. He really was somebody who had that vision, who was able to do that and provide a great deal for the city of Chattanooga. He served as mayor from 1909 to 1915. He was on the board of trustees of the University of Chattanooga initially. And in 1923, he was elected president of the Civitan Club. And as you know, that went on, and that developed into the whole effort for the development of the Children's Hospital. And then after he died in 1938, and shortly after that, the name of the hospital was changed to the TC Thompson Children's Hospital. But there are a couple other things to remember. Number one, as I said, he was incredibly service-oriented. not only did all those things I just talked about, but he served on multiple boards. He was on the Chamber of Commerce and actually was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. In the early 1900s, he raised money for veterans of the Spanish-American War. And then he raised money for University of Chattanooga. And there's an interesting story about that. He actually went to New York, and they were about $30,000 short of meeting their goal, and they had to meet this goal to get a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation. So they were about $30,000 short. So they arranged a meeting with Andrew Carnegie. So they went to his house and talked with Andrew Carnegie. And then Andrew Carnegie said, well, I gave you guys $30,000 before for the library in Chattanooga, and you didn't use it right. I'm not going to give you any more money. So very dejectedly, they started to walk out, and there was a painting there. And TC Thompson said to Andrew Carnegie, who is that man? And it was some emperor in Europe. And he said, well, you know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of Sherman. And when Sherman came through Atlanta and then on up to Charleston and Columbia. And Andrew Carnegie said, well, you're right, it kind of does look like Sherman. And then T.C. Thompson said, well, you know, it's because of Sherman that I had to drop out of school at 15 and didn't finish my education. And so Carnegie said, well, let me rethink this. He said, for a man who is as eloquent and well-spoken as you are, to come up here with only a 15, only having education until you're 15. And by the way, that's all the education that Carnegie had too. So he said, let me rethink this. The next day, there was a check for $30,000. They came back to start the University of Chattanooga. So, he was obviously very bright, very quick on his feet, and what great stories about him. He went on to be the mayor and president of the Civitan. And then in 1939, again, remember, we're still in the Great Depression, in 1928, 29, when they raised the money for the hospital, just before the Depression and during the Depression. And then after he died, they put a bust together of him in 1939. And a couple of the comments from that time were that one of the speakers said he had the courage to speak what he thought was right. Another thing they mentioned was that he founded the first interracial committee in the mayor's office. And then finally they said, but his greatest work was that for children, especially crippled children, and the Children's Hospital. But when he did that, he also said there should be no charity wards in the Children's Hospital. So he was a man way in front of his time. He obviously did great things, and he contributed immensely to the city of Chattanooga, but also to the children and the community. As you know, the original hospital construction began in 29. It was finished in 29. And then the name was changed in 1938 after his death. And since then, the hospital has gone through many changes, including moving from its old site up here. There have been multiple expansions of the NICU. The PICU's been remodeled. Our floors have now been remodeled. The ED was added. So a lot of things have happened over the last, 70-some years that we've been here. And so I think that the important thing today is that we're honoring somebody who had great vision, who gave back to the community, and set an example for all the rest of us. And with that, I will turn it over to Karen Kennedy, and and Debbie Alpert, and they're going to talk about a little bit more about TC Thompson.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. Debbie and I are thrilled on this exciting day. We are very grateful to TC Thompson and what he did for our community. And we are lucky enough to have some of the family members with us today. And we would like to introduce you. Would y'all please step forward when we call your names? TC Thompson's granddaughter, Liz Norris, who also serves on our Children's Foundation Board. Come stand up here with us, Liz, please. His great-granddaughter, Liz's daughter, Lisa Norris. Great-grandson, Chip Norris. Granddaughter, Mary Curtis. Great-granddaughter, Ann Crosby. And great-great-granddaughter, Chelsea.
And now, with the help of the family, we're going to unveil the redone, remodeled, new edition of the TC Thompson portrait. Slowly but surely. When he said we need a place for children, and it needs to be here in Chattanooga. So thank you all. And now Dr. Court will wrap it up for us.
Liz, did you want to say
Liz, I think Liz,
Oh, you want to say
I
something?
think Liz is going to say something.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Gentry and especially Mr. Spiegel, who has shown such a commitment to my grandfather and TC Thompson Children's Hospital. And I have one story that Dr. Court didn't tell. When my grandfather's son, Hugh, was wounded in World War I, and he spent many hours in hospitals with him after he came home. And that's where he saw children in rooms with grown people. And he didn't think that was a good thing. And after that is when he started the campaign to build a children's hospital. It was named for him by the Hamilton County Quarterly Court in 1938, which we now know as the Hamilton County Commission. And I'd also like to thank all the doctors and nurses here at the hospital who take care of the children and keep keep my grandfather's dream alive.
So I think today, you see that there's a family, and there's a family that is still dedicated to children, and especially children with special health care needs. Actually, the Civitan Club got started, and one of the first things that it did was it raised money for 2 children who, in the paper at that time, said had infantile paralysis. Now, how many of you know what infantile paralysis is? Polio, which we don't see anymore. And the whole spectrum of healthcare has changed so much for children. But we still have a lot of children with special needs, a lot of children who are graduates of our NICU, and children that we still need to provide care for. You know, it's been said for a long time that the best way to judge a community is to judge how it takes care of those who can't take care of themselves. And I think that TC Thompson certainly stands for that. He was there out in front, willing and having the courage to speak up. I want to tell you one last story, and I apologize for those of you who've heard this before. But when I was in practice, I came home after being on call one night, and at that time I had two boys. They were 5 and 7. And they were, one was sitting on the couch, and one was out in front right by the TV, and one had the remote, and he would hit the remote to watch his station, and the one in front of the TV would hit the other channel because he wanted to watch a different show. Now that was when we only had one TV, if any of you can remember back in those days. But, so they were doing this and driving me crazy, and I hadn't had much sleep the night before, so I was a little short. So I said to them, I said, stop it, you guys. And did they stop? Nah. So I said to them again as they continued, if you don't stop, you're going to have to go to bed. So did they stop? No way. So being a pediatrician and having taken and given advice to parents, I knew I had to follow through. So I said, okay guys, off to bed. And they were not very happy with me. So the next morning, I get up, and in the script of a second grader, there's a note tacked to my door. And it says, be kind to the children, and they will be kind to you. Signed, God. I like to tell that story because it really says that's what we're all about. That's what children's is all about. But we have to take all of this dedication, this enthusiasm, the compassion and the passion, and harness it to make sure we're providing the best care that we can for our kids. And that's what this is all about. You know, the current TC Thompson Hospital has been here for now almost 40 years. And the lifespan of a children's hospital is about 40 years. So my question to all of you is, do we now have the courage as a community and as individuals to do what many other communities around us have done and take that next step and do what is right for our children and our families to have a new third TC Thompson Children's Hospital in the near future? I mean, you know, our rooms are too small. The PICU is certainly not state of art. We do the best we can with what we have, but we need to take that next step. So that's the challenge for all of you to think about. We're certainly going to be looking at that. And again, it all comes from the courage of this man and what he did to help us have a children's hospital. So again, thank you so much.
There's some light refreshments in room 146, 140, around the conference room next to Cindy Rhodes' office. It's right around the corner for those that can stay, just light refreshments, and if you want to stay and visit. And thank you again for everybody coming and being part of this. It's a neat occasion. Oh, Mr. Elder. Awesome.